In a second, Mayor Donna Deegan
in
in Duval County is
We've talked a lot about the increase in tornadic activity, and I think a lot of folks are focused on that wind event tomorrow. But as those bands come in tonight, we're really expecting to see those tornado risks increase. So we could start seeing some tree damage tonight during those rain bands coming in. We continue to expect the strongest tropical storm force winds on Thursday afternoon and evening. That's the time that you should be hunkered down at home. So we're hoping everybody will complete their final preps this morning and this afternoon, and then try to get on home and stay home during the flooding of up to 3 feet along the St. Johns River. In particular, regular suspects, right? San Marco, downtown, Hogan's Creek, Southampton, Riverside, St. Vincent's and Ribault areas, all places where we see flooding even when we don't have extreme events. So we'll be keeping a close eye on those. Obviously, make sure to keep your phone charged and download the Jax Ready app and pay attention to all your local updates from your local meteorologists for real-time updates on the storm. We'll be hearing from the National Weather Service in just a few moments. Let me give you a few other details. Some you may know, some you may not know. Office closures. Beaches, the City of Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach offices will be closed on Thursday. We expect to update from Jacksonville Beach this afternoon. They're still trying to decide whether they're going to open or close up on Thursday. The Public Defender's Office, Duval, Nassau, Clay offices are all closed on Thursday. They'll be awaiting the court's decision to see if they'll be open on Friday, so we'll keep you posted on that. The tax collector closed on Thursday, reopening Friday morning, weather permitting. Many transactions can still be completed online. Parks, Huguenot, Memorial Park, and Catherine Abbey Hanna Park will be closed Thursday. All senior centers and community centers will also be closed except for the Legend Center, which, as you know, is being used as a shelter. As far as the senior games are concerned, the City of Jacksonville Senior Games opening ceremonies and track and field events are going to be postponed. A rescheduled date will be announced once city facilities are reopened and venues have been assessed for possible storm damage. And a reminder that our offices at the City of Jacksonville are going to be closed except for essential personnel tomorrow, hoping to have everything back running up and normal on Friday. In terms of our public safety teams, JFRD will have 8 ERAT teams staged around the city to be ready to clear any roadways during the storm. Those are emergency road access teams. JSO teams are also ready to monitor the bridges for wind and roads for possible flooding. As you know, JSO will only be closing the bridges on a temporary basis when the winds get above 40 miles an hour sustained. 2 important reminders on that front. If you see a downed power line or trees, please call 630-CITY, and that number is 630-2489. 630-CITY. Avoid all contact with power lines. We're really concerned about that because of these winds, because we're expecting some trees to come down, we could have some complications with water lines, with power lines. So please make sure that if you see a down line, you don't touch it. If you suspect there's a safety issue or a live wire, that's when you want to call 911. But if you don't see anything that you consider emergent, you'll call that 630-CITY number instead, so we can keep our emergency crews clear for true emergencies. We want to remind you, please don't drive through floodwaters. We're not expecting a ton of flooding with this storm, but there will be some streets that are flooded. So please try to be aware and don't drive through the waters, as they can be deceptively deep. JEA also has 430 line workers ready to address downed power lines and restore power, and more than 2,200 team members are ready to respond. As we said, we are expecting this to largely be a wind event, and therefore we are expecting some pretty widespread power outages. Please be patient with that. We're going to do our best. I know JEA is really staffed up to try to limit the frustration on that front, but this is going to be a lot of wind, and so we may have some power outages for a bit. On that front, I want to also point out that if we do have long-term power outages, we're going to be expecting a lot of heat on the other side of this storm. We will work with JTA to set up cooling buses in the event that we have long-term power outages and people need a place to be after the shelters are no longer available. So please don't let yourself worry about that. As I said yesterday, 5 shelters, they open today at 4 p.m. please don't arrive before 4 p.m. at those shelters. Those shelters are available for any residents in need, especially if you're living in a trailer, an older home, or a low-lying area. JTA is providing free rides to all of those shelters throughout the duration of the storm. So that's Atlantic Coast High School, Chaffee Trail Elementary, the Legend Center, Landmark Middle, and the La Villa School of the Arts. Also, Ken Knight Drive is one of those areas where we have historically seen some pretty bad flooding. So JTA is providing free shuttles for Ken Knight Drive residents starting at 4 p.m. today and running every 15 to 30 minutes. So that will be at bus stop 3991 located at Ken Knight Drive and Moncrief Road. Those shuttles will open at 4 p.m. today and run every 15 to 30 minutes for people who need to get out of there, and they'll be transported to the Legend Center there on Sutel Drive. People with special needs, please contact 630-CITY. Again, that's 630-2489 for information on that. If you're going to go to a shelter, you're going to want to bring your own snacks, water, and bedding, photo IDs, prescriptions, personal care items, and clothes. For pets, vaccine records, food, water, medicine, and waste items. A full list of what to bring is on jacksready.com/Helene. And I will just say, for all of your updated information on the storm, jacksready.com is a great place to go to remain updated. So please do use that website and that app if you can download that. We've talked about JTA. They're going to continue to run regular operations throughout the storm unless it isn't safe. They're going to resume normal service on Friday if service does have to be suspended. I believe that the ferry is going to be closed tomorrow, but should resume operations on Friday. Greyhound will be shutting down from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. tomorrow as well. The Skyway is going to be closed Thursday and will resume operation as soon as it is safe to do so. As far as the airport is concerned, just a reminder, you have to check with your airlines. So far, we have not heard of airlines canceling flights. I suspect that will come as the storm proceeds. So check with your airline to see if you're going to fly out. The airport remains open. And in terms of public works, our various public works crews teams are taking care of trees and clearing drains and securing loose items in advance of the storm. We're putting some extra pumps out there to try to drain some of the existing water. We'll be keeping solid waste pickup on schedule Thursday and Friday as long as it's safe to do so, and any homes that are missed, we'll take care of you on Saturday. So again, final preps for today. Please complete your home preps before the rain bands start coming in tonight, because that's when the tornadic activity will be at its highest. So please secure your home, clean up any limbs or debris, clear your drains and gutters, and secure outdoor items that could become projectiles before we get into the evening. Be mindful of trees that could become uprooted from heavy winds and the already saturated ground from previous weeks of rain. I cannot stress this enough. It's probably one of our biggest concerns between that and the tornadoes, that we're going to be losing trees, and they could cause some damage to power lines, to water lines and other things that we know could wreak some havoc for a little bit. Ensure your supply kits are stocked up and that you have an emergency plan for your family. I'll remind you again that we are staffed 24/7 on 630-CITY through 7 p.m. on Friday. So please use that number, 630-2489, should you have issues. And now I'd like to turn it over to Angie and Yeti from the National Weather Service for the latest on the storm.
Good afternoon, Angie and Yeti, National Weather Service Jacksonville, supporting the Duval response team as we go through now Hurricane Helene. As of 11 a.m., the storm has strengthened to hurricane strength. That's got peak winds of around 80 miles an hour, and the center continues to be very near the Yucatan Peninsula near Mexico, but we are starting to see it track into the southern Gulf of Mexico now. As we go through the course of this afternoon into tonight, the storm is expected to further intensify, a term called rapid intensification, which is not used very often. Rapid intensification is on track for Helene as the storm begins to move northeast into the Gulf of Mexico as we go in through the day tomorrow on Thursday, becoming a major hurricane as it approaches landfall somewhere along the Florida Big Bend coast. Now, with Helene, as the mayor mentioned earlier, for our local area, for the Jax metro area, We are underneath a tropical storm warning now, and what that means is that within about 36 hours, we are expecting tropical storm force winds across our area. And when we say tropical storm force winds, those are sustained speeds, not gusts, sustained speeds of 40 miles an hour or more. Now, the locations across our area that are going to be more prone to the stronger wind speeds are going to be elevated structures, the bridges, the elevated buildings, as well as open spaces such as near bodies of water like the St. Johns River, as well as along the ocean front. That's where we could start to see higher wind magnitudes on the order of sustained near 50 miles an hour with some gust up near 70 during the peak of the storm, of the winds of the storm, which would be tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. All right, so that's the wind component. Impacts from Helene for our local area are going to begin tonight on Wednesday night, as the mayor was saying. We are going to start seeing some outer rain bands come up from South Florida, bringing a tornado threat and localized flooding rainfall threat. That begins tonight. So for preparation messaging, today we want you to finish those plans and ideally get to where you want to ride out the storm by this evening, seeking that safe shelter location and remaining hunkered down through the day tomorrow as well as into Thursday night. By Friday morning, those winds will begin to rapidly decrease below tropical storm strength, but get to where you want to be by this evening tonight to ride out the storm and remain hunkered down. In terms of storm surge, we're really focusing for the greatest storm surge potential along the St. Johns River. Okay, and we've been messaging that up to 3 feet of storm surge inundation is possible, especially for areas that are from the Buckman Bridge northward. Near the high tide tomorrow evening, which is Thursday evening, Main Street Bridge high tide is right around 6:45 Thursday evening. So somewhere between that 6 p.m. to about 10 p.m. time frame, when we could see the stronger south winds push up the river coinciding with high tide, is where we could see those higher storm surge values, really bringing that potential inundation to areas from Riverside, St. Vincent's, getting into Hogan's Creek, San Marco, but also the Ribault River. We want folks to be aware of that flooding inundation of storm surge potential in those areas as well. So get to where we want to be by this evening and remain hunkered down as we go into tomorrow and tomorrow night.
Okay, anybody have any questions for us?
Is the LaSalle Street pump station operational at all at this point, or is there a plan to bring in temporary pumps to that part of San Marco that always seems to flood?
Lena, you want to address this?
The pump station is still under construction. However, we have 6 temporary pumps in that location to handle the stormwater that comes in the temporary condition.
Mayor, you mentioned Kenite Drive. Is there going to be a pump brought into Kenite Drive?
I don't think there is a whole lot you can do about Kenite Drive. I'm going to tell you. I mean, that's a tough situation over there. It floods over there on days you have a major flood. It's just it's where it's the landscape over there, and that's going to be very, very tough. But we are going to provide a way for people to get out of there. That's about the best we can do on Kenite Drive at this point.
With all the flooding we've had around the city in this month and all the drains clogged, how much work has been done to clean those out between the rain and this storm?
I know that Nina and her crews have been working extensively on that, even as we came up to this rainy season, because as you know, between August and October, we have a lot of rain here. But obviously, one of the things, and I think it's helped us out at the beaches as well, is that when we started to get all this rain, we really stepped up those efforts to make sure we were cleaning out those drains and making sure that the retention ponds were in good a shape as they could be. So I think we are in as good a position as we can be, and obviously just continuing to monitor all that as we move through the storm.
University Boulevard near 95 a couple weeks ago was an area we got a lot of questions about because of the flooding there. Has there been any special attention to that part of town?
Oh, that is DOT, that's not us, but I don't, does anybody know anything? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know anything
Okay.
about that.
Sorry, don't have any additional information about that.
You talked about trees coming down a little bit. Is there any guidance that you guys can share for folks who maybe aren't expecting to have a tree on their house but wind up with one here in the next couple of days? Anything that they should do immediately after that tree falls? Or
Well, again, if it puts you in an emergent situation, if that tree is on top of your house and causing a life-threatening situation, call 911. If the tree comes down and it's not causing a life-threatening situation, please call 630 City and we'll get somebody out there as quickly as we can. But otherwise, we want you to make sure that you're staying away from any sort of lines that those trees may have disrupted. The root system can come up and mess with water lines and other things that are buried beneath the ground. There's also that opportunity to bring down power lines. And the biggest thing is we want people to make sure they're staying away from those. In those situations, we want to make sure that people just stay safe and stay away from the area and as much as they can.
This one is for Angie. Piggybacking off the tree question, we are going to be focusing on trees. Can you provide a little more context as to what these kinds of winds are capable of when it comes to trees? Just give us a little more information.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that question, actually, because we hear tropical storm force winds, and well, what does that actually mean? So tropical storm force winds, the official definition is actually 39 miles an hour or higher sustained. But what can that do? It can down trees. And it's not a wind gust type of event like for us when we think of a thunderstorm. This is an extended duration, several hours of winds blowing of 40 miles an hour or more, which can certainly compromise trees, compromise power lines, structures that are elevated, like for example, billboard signs, some of those may feel some of the brunt of those winds. So as the mayor had said, if you live in a location to where you're concerned about perhaps trees falling on your home because of tropical storm conditions, we want you to get to a place where you feel more comfortable by this evening.
Other questions?
You mentioned folks were out tree trimming, Public Works is out tree trimming. Is there like a tier based on how the big a priority certain areas are, or how do they decide which areas to address the most?
Certainly, if there are areas where trees are encroaching on power lines, that's going to be a priority.
Is that like call based, people calling in and being
Well,
concerned?
it absolutely helps to know where those things are. So I think we're working off tickets at this point, right, Nina? So we work off, we take a look at the tickets and see what seems to be in the worst case scenario, and we start with those first. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again at 6:05.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So there you have been listening to an update from Mayor Donna Deegan about the situation with Hurricane Helene as the city is preparing. So saying that really the peak effects of the wind, and really describing this as a wind event, we'll be feeling it Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, but talking a lot about how these tropical storm force winds could impact the city, saying there could be down trees. And if you see down power lines, which is a concern, if you see down power lines, you can call 630 City. Now, if it's a safety issue where those down power lines are, on a vehicle or it's a live wire, then you can definitely call 911 to alert them to that. They said that the shelters are going to be opening up at 4 o'clock today. And if you do need a shelter, make sure you're bringing snacks, water, and bedding with you. Now, we are going to have more on Hurricane Helene along with its track and more specifics on what we could see here tomorrow with meteorologist Lee Southwick right on the other side of the break.